Align instead of struggle. Introduction. There is a reason you're holding this book, and it has nothing to do with coincidence. It has everything to do with something inside you, a quiet knowing, that keeps whispering, there has to be another way. You've tried the path of force. You've walked the road of striving. You've begged the universe with your words, your sweat, your tears. You've chased success. You've visualized your dreams. You've repeated the affirmations day after day, wondering when life would finally answer back. And yet, something still feels out of reach. Something still feels heavy. What if I told you the problem isn't your desire, but your approach? What if I told you that your deepest power doesn't live in effort, but in surrender? That everything you've been running after is already looking for you, but can't find you because you're hiding behind noise, tension, and control? What if the door you've been banging on opens the moment you stop trying to break it down? This is not a book about doing more. This is a book about remembering more. Remembering the part of you that never needed to fight in order to receive. The part of you that creates through energy, not exhaustion. The part of you that is not here to beg for blessings, but to align with them. This is a return to inner harmony, to sacred simplicity, to the divine intelligence of your subconscious mind, the silent architect of your entire reality. You don't need more tactics. You need more trust. You need to come back to the source, you. Inside these pages, you won't be asked to fix yourself. You'll be shown how to feel yourself again, how to live, act, speak, and rest from the frequency of wholeness. You'll discover what happens when you let go of the grip and let in the grace. When you stop thinking your value is in the fight and realize it's in your vibration. You'll learn to manifest not by chasing, but by becoming. Not through pressure, but through presence. And once you do, you'll see the world shift before your very eyes. Gently, quietly, powerfully. You didn't come here to struggle. You came here to remember your power and to let life flow through you with peace, purpose, and precision. So breathe. Let the words hold you. Let the silence speak to you. Let each chapter bring you closer to what you've always known but may have forgotten. You were never meant to fight so hard for what already lives inside you. This is your return, and it begins now. Chapter 1. The Hidden Law That Reverses Reality. You were told to push, to fight, to climb each mountain by force. You believed life rewarded only the relentless, those who never stopped chasing, sweating, striving. And so you did. You gave it everything. You obeyed the slogans carved into your childhood. Nothing comes for free, no pain, no gain. Success is earned with blood. You ran, you begged, you tried. And yet, something never quite aligned. Despite your effort, some dreams always danced just out of reach. Others came but brought exhaustion, bitterness, or collapse in their wake. And then you saw it. A quiet pattern. People who didn't fight as hard, yet seemed to receive more. They were not frantic, not obsessed, not pushing. Life came to them gently, almost as if it flowed. That realization cracked open your certainty. Maybe there was something no one ever told you. Maybe life wasn't only muscle and grit. Maybe power hides in the invisible. This is where the great reversal begins. There exists a force within you, not logical, not loud, but unshakable. It listens not to your words, but to the tone of your soul, not to your desire, but to your faith. It is a part of you that doesn't react to struggle, but to surrender, not to effort, but to conviction. And when this part awakens, the world starts to obey in quiet, precise ways. This is the law reversed, the sacred paradox. When you release control, the order begins. When you stop reaching, what you sought begins reaching for you. When you stop insisting, the pieces fall into place. Not because you gave up, but because you finally got out of your own way. This law seems absurd to the rational mind, illogical, even dangerous. But test it, and you will find it is everywhere. Recall the moment you stopped chasing someone, and they suddenly returned. Remember when you let go of the job you wanted so badly, and then an offer arrived. Look back at the countless times your surrender became the very key that unlocked the door. This force doesn't answer urgency. It responds to peace, to a quiet certainty. When you imagine something clearly, not with desperation but with calm, you plant a seed in the most fertile field of the universe, a seed that grows not through effort, but through trust. And yet, most people fail here. They bury the seed and dig it up daily with doubt. They chant affirmations like incantations, but their hearts are full of fear. They visualize, but with clenched fists, and so their soil remains hostile, their harvest delayed. Because the subconscious doesn't respond to how loudly you declare, it responds to how deeply you believe. If you say, "I am abundant," but you feel anxious about money, your words are lies the deeper mind cannot accept. But if you whisper it, once with a quiet smile and no tension, the seed is accepted and begins its silent work. True manifestation is not the art of wishing. It is the discipline of alignment. When you act from fear, you tell life, "I don't believe." But when you rest, when you trust, when you surrender with joy, then life begins its secret orchestration. The wisest ones do not wrestle with the world. They harmonize with it. They do not demand outcomes. They tend to their inner garden. And that garden blooms with astonishing timing every time. So the real question is this: can you trust the unseen? Can you plant without digging? Can you love a dream enough to set it free? Because when you do, the game changes. You cease being a chaser. You become a magnet. What once resisted you now flows. What once eluded you now arrives. This is the first doorway into a new life. A life of elegant ease, of sacred cooperation with the universe. You don't abandon your dreams, you elevate your method. There comes a moment when willpower has done all it can, and you must hand the rest to something wiser, something larger, something within. That moment is not weakness, it is a powerful awakening. This chapter is not advice, it is an initiation into a deeper law, into the forgotten way, the way of feeling, the way of surrender, the way of becoming unstoppable, not because you fight harder, but because you finally let yourself be guided. And from this moment forward, your life will no longer be about chasing. It will be about remembering, reconnecting with what has always been yours. The path now opens before you. Chapter 2. Desire and the Trap of Trying. You are taught to want with intensity, to long with hunger, to pursue with urgency. They said that if you want something badly enough, if you obsess over it, visualize it day and night, hold it in your heart with burning desire, then the universe must yield. But they didn't tell you the whole truth. Desire is not wrong. It is a spark, a compass, a whisper from the soul. But when it slips into need, when it festers into fear, when it clings with sweaty hands, it no longer draws the dream closer. It pushes it away. Why? Because your deeper mind, the one that shapes reality in silence, listens not to your thoughts, but to your feelings. It doesn't see your dream the way you do. It sees the emotion you wrap around that dream. When your desire is stained with worry, with doubt, with the fear of not having, then you are not creating the dream. You are broadcasting the absence of it. You are telling life, "I do not yet have, I do not yet believe, I do not yet trust." And the subconscious, the silent sculptor of your world, obeys. This is the cruel irony. The more you try to make it happen from desperation, the further it slips. Not because you are weak, but because you are using the wrong language. The universe does not speak anxiety. It speaks with certainty, peace, conviction. True creation is never frantic. It is calm. Imagine this. You are standing before a still lake. The surface is glass. You make your request with grace. A single stone, cast gently into the water. Ripples spread effortlessly. The energy carries. But now, imagine you hurl handfuls of stones into the water, frantic, shouting your wish. The surface breaks. The water churns. You see nothing. You feel lost. This is what happens when you ask under tension. You were told that constant asking shows faith. But in truth, it often reveals the opposite. Real faith doesn't need to check the mailbox every 5 minutes. It doesn't scream its affirmations. It whispers them once, then lives as if the answer has already arrived. Because that That quiet inner knowing is what plants the seed. So many get lost here. They confuse intensity with power. They confuse repetition with belief. But the subconscious mind, that sacred garden, does not grow under pressure. It grows under stillness, warmth, confidence. What you are seeking is not a new method, but a new posture. You don't need to chase the dream. You need to become its mirror, to feel its presence within you now, to embody the outcome before it arrives, and if you feel doubt, that's all right. If fear visits you, welcome it like a passing storm. But do not live in it. Do not let it redefine your truth. The most magnetic state you can ever be in is this: I desire but I do not need. I welcome but I do not beg. I trust but I do not insist. For when you stop saying, please come, and begin saying, I am ready, the rhythm shifts. The very act of non-attachment is not indifference, it is mastery. And this mastery is not cold, it is deeply loving. It means you know who you are without needing proof. It means your happiness is no longer held hostage by whether or not something manifests. It means your energy is clean, open, and receptive. This is why those who play attract, why those who release receive, why those who laugh create with greater speed than those who strive. Because joy, trust, ease, these are high frequencies, and your subconscious responds to frequency, not effort. When you tighten your grip, you say to life, I don't believe you will come through, but when you relax, you whisper, I know it's already on its way, and that whisper echoes louder than any cry. So begin again, ask, yes, desire, yes, but then release. Let your wanting become peace. Let your asking become trust. Let your path be paved not by effort, but by energy. The next chapter will reveal the moment when the seed takes root, when the desire, once clean and calm, finds its way deep into the soil of the subconscious, not by force, but by grace. We will step into the sacred art of planting. But for now, sit with this truth. You do not need to try harder. You need to let go more completely, and in that surrender, the miracle begins. Chapter 3. The Sacred Planting of Desire. Now that you understand that anxious desire repels what you seek and that peace attracts, you are ready to discover the great mystery: how to plant a desire so deeply in the fertile soil of your subconscious that it must grow, must blossom, must arrive in form. This is not a mechanical process. It is not a formula you memorize. It is not a ritual you perform with clenched fists. This is an intimate act, a moment of communion with your inner world. It is sacred, delicate, and powerful. Think of your subconscious as a vast field, unimaginably rich, infinitely creative, utterly obedient. But not every seed thrives there. Some fall on rocky ground. Some are drowned by contradiction. Some are suffocated by the weeds of doubt. To plant properly, you must become more than a gardener. You must become still. You must become intentional. You must feel. The deeper mind does not understand force, but it understands clarity. It responds not to what you say with your lips, but to what you feel in the depths of your being. Emotion is its native tongue. And when you speak to it in that language, softly, sincerely, silently, it listens. There are moments when the gate to this field swings open wide, moments when the conscious mind relaxes and the subconscious stands receptive. These are the twilight thresholds of the day, the last few breaths before sleep and the first few moments upon waking. In these in-between spaces, the noise of thought quiets and the waters of the inner mind become still. Here, in this sacred stillness, is where planting becomes effortless. Picture this: your body is at rest, your breath gentle, your heart open. The concerns of the day have faded. You are not calculating, not pushing, not planning. You are simply present. And from this presence, you allow a single image to rise. Not a fantasy, not a wild daydream, but a clear, grounded vision, one moment, one scene, that represents your desire fulfilled. You are not hoping. You are experiencing. You see yourself living the result. Not waiting for it, living it. You feel the calm joy of it, the gratitude, the ease. You are not asking the universe to make it real. You are stepping into the version of yourself for whom it already is. Maybe it is a phone call with good news. Maybe it is a letter in your hand. Maybe it is a moment of quiet contentment in a place you long to be. It does not matter what it is, only that it feels true to you, and that you feel it. That moment when your chest warms, when your face softens into a smile, when your breath deepens, that is the planting. No fanfare, no effort, just a seed, dropped into rich soil by the hands of your inner certainty. And now comes the most vital part. You must leave it be. So many destroy their own creation by digging it up with anxiety. They plant, and then they doubt. They plant, and then they contradict. They plant, and then they worry. But the subconscious is not a stubborn mule that must be yelled at. It is a silent river that responds to stillness. When you imagine something clearly, feel it deeply, and then let it go, you have given a command to your inner reality. That command will not be ignored, but you must be patient. You must be consistent. You must tend to the garden of your mind each day, not by demanding results, but by protecting the soil. Don't speak against your own planting. Don't declare abundance in the morning and complain of lack in the afternoon. Don't affirm peace, then drown in worry. Every thought is a brushstroke. Every emotion is a prayer. Your subconscious hears everything. Not just your meditations, but your passing comments, your self-talk, your emotional patterns. If your inner world is a field, your words are rain, your emotions are sunlight, and your attention is nourishment. So treat your mind like holy ground. Speak kindly, think deliberately, feel fully. And if you worry, if you find yourself slipping into doubt, do not shame yourself. Simply return. Return to the scene. Return to the feeling. Return to the faith. There is no need to be perfect, only consistent. And as you practice, something beautiful will happen. Your imagination will awaken. Your emotions will become more accessible. Your subconscious will begin to open its doors more easily. What once felt like an effort will become natural. What once felt like work will become worship. There is one more secret. It is one of the oldest truths of all sacred traditions. What you impress upon the subconscious before sleep is carried into the depths of your being. When your body sleeps, your inner mind works. When your conscious thoughts dissolve, your subconscious builds. So do not go to sleep with fear in your heart. Do not let the last voice you hear be worry or resentment or stress. Let your final moments be sacred. Set a small intention. Whisper a truth. Recall your vision. Let your heart swell with gratitude, not because it has arrived, but because you know it must. That is enough. You don't need to chant. You don't need to beg. You don't need to repeat until you are blue in the face. One clear image, deeply felt, spoken in the language of emotion, is more powerful than 1,000 empty affirmations. Feel it, plant it, bless it, then walk away. This is not giving up. This is giving over to a power within you that is ancient, intelligent, and unfailing. In the next chapter, we will go deeper into this power, how to not only visualize but to forget deliberately, how to surrender without resistance, how to rest with such conviction that the unseen must move on your behalf. Because you were never meant to carry it all, you were only meant to plant in faith and trust the invisible to do the rest. Chapter 4. The Art of Visualizing, Feeling, and Letting Go. By now you've understood that your subconscious does not respond to words shouted from the surface, but to the silent symphony of your inner state. You've learned how to plant your desire, how to choose the moment, how to speak the sacred language of feeling. But now comes one of the greatest acts of trust, the release. It is not enough to see the vision, not enough to feel it bloom within you like a dawn that has not yet reached the sky. To truly command the invisible forces that shape your world, you must learn the paradoxical art of forgetting. Not forgetting the desire, forgetting the tension, forgetting the control, forgetting the part of you that waits at the door asking, "Where is it? Why hasn't it come yet?" Because the moment you ask that question, you are telling the universe, "I doubt." And doubt is the storm that shakes the roots of what you've planted. You see, visualization is not a trick of the mind. It is not a daydream. It is a tool of transformation, and like all sacred tools, it requires reverence. To visualize is to slip into a new timeline, not to wish for it, but to live it. When you imagine with feeling, when you see yourself as already in possession of your dream, when you feel the joy, the gratitude, the peace, even for a moment, you have shifted your vibration. You are no longer asking, you are embodying. This is where most fall short. They visualize the life they long for, and then they return to the life they fear. They see abundance in the morning and argue with bills by noon. They imagine love and speak of loneliness all day, and so their garden is torn between two realities. The seed, once planted, is drowned in contradiction. So, how do you prevent this? You learn the power of sacred forgetting. After you've visualized, even if only for a few seconds, after you've felt the warmth, the satisfaction, the serenity of already having, you must release it like a prayer whispered to the wind. You must walk away knowing that it is done. Just as you would place an order at a coffee shop and then sit back, trusting the kitchen to prepare it, not rushing behind the counter to make it yourself, you must allow the creative forces within you to work unseen. You are not the builder, you are the architect, and your role ends when the design is clear, when the desire is pure, when the emotion is true. From that moment on, your only responsibility is not to interfere. You are not surrendering your dream. You are surrendering your control. This is not indifference. It is faith. Imagine a woman who wants to see flowers bloom in spring. She plants tulip bulbs in the soil. She waters gently, and then she waits. She does not dig every morning to check the roots. She does not panic because no petals have appeared. She knows how life works. She trusts the hidden processes. This is how you must treat your desires. Plant them with vision. Water them with feeling. Then trust. Live your life. Laugh. Work. Love. Let the days pass as if you already possess what you asked for. Because in truth, you do. It has not arrived in form, but it has arrived in essence, and essence always precedes form. The deeper law is this: what you hold in your consciousness without resistance must externalize itself, not through struggle, not through control, but through the natural alignment of inner and outer. Letting go is not weakness. It is the supreme expression of strength. It is saying, I no longer need to prove, to push, to panic. I am aligned, I am ready, I am already it. This is not pretending. This is choosing. And when you make that choice, again and again, gently, silently, your world begins to mirror your inner truth. So if you ever feel the need to revisit your desire, not from anxiety, but from joy, then return. Visualize again. Let it fill you. Let it move you. Then release once more. The rhythm is simple. Visualize, feel, forget. Do not forget as in erase. Forget as in trust so deeply I no longer carry it. This is the mark of mastery, because the truly magnetic person does not chase. They walk through life with a calm knowing. They are not trying to attract. They are allowing. They are not looking for signs. They are becoming the sign. And all things respond to that frequency. So the next time you feel that flicker of impatience, that urge to check if your seed has grown, pause. Breathe. Smile. Say inwardly, "It is done," and continue living. Because the surest way to delay your dream is to doubt its arrival. The surest way to speed its unfolding is to trust it completely. In the chapter ahead, we will step into the deepest core of this path, the silent engine of all creation. Unwavering faith, a kind of faith that does not shout, does not rush, does not crumble. The kind of faith that lives quietly in your chest and yet moves the very mountains of your life. But before we go there, let this truth settle. You are not here to force life. You are here to receive it in alignment. You are not a beggar at the gates of destiny. You are the gatekeeper, and you hold the key. Chapter 5. The Silent Power That Shapes the World. There is a kind of power that doesn't roar, it doesn't need to. It walks without announcement, moves without noise, and commands without resistance. It's not found in effort, not in showmanship, not in declarations. It lives in silence, in the unwavering certainty that what is yours must come. This power is called faith, but not the kind you were taught in dogma or tradition. Not faith that begs, not faith that waits for signs, not faith that breaks when nothing seems to happen. This is sacred faith, quiet, rooted, unshakable. Not because it has proof, but because it doesn't need any. It is the invisible engine behind all manifestation. The magnetic core is behind every reality shift, and once you understand it, not intellectually but viscerally, your entire world will begin to reorganize around it. You see, true faith is not belief. Belief is often surface level. Belief still wavers. Belief still needs reasons. But faith, real faith is a decision made at the level of the soul. It is a yes spoken from your deepest self. Even when the world is silent, even when the doors are closed, even when nothing seems to move, it says, I know, I trust, I walk. And that walk, steady, quiet, without fanfare, is what moves the mountains. Imagine this. You've planted your seed. You've seen your vision. You've felt it as real. And now nothing happens. Days go by, then weeks. Silence. Stillness. This is the moment where most turn back. They start to doubt. They say, maybe it didn't work. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I'm not worthy. But the one who knows, the one who understands how the invisible works remains still. They smile gently. They carry on. Because they understand something few dare to believe. The visible is always late. The invisible is first. Reality doesn't respond to panic. It responds to peace. It doesn't obey your timeline. It obeys your frequency. And when your frequency is steady, when you refuse to waver, when your inner world holds its alignment, reality has no choice. It must bend. This is not philosophy, it is the law. Just like gravity, this silent faith is a force, and it governs your life whether you understand it or not. But when you begin to work with it consciously, when you learn to remain rooted even when your senses scream otherwise, then the real magic begins. Think of a seed deep underground. No light, no sky, no evidence of life. But inside, movement, expansion, growth. You don't see it, not yet. But you trust the process. You know the intelligence of the earth is working. You don't unearth the seed to check. You don't cry because there's no flower. You wait. And when it blooms, it seems sudden, but it never was. So too with your desires. Your inner world is the seed. Your feeling is the water. Your certainty is the sun. And your faith, the kind that makes no noise, is the soil that holds it all. This chapter is not about doing more. It's about doing less, but from a place of knowing. A place where you no longer need the world to show you signs, because you've become the sign. You no longer seek confirmation from outside, because you already feel it inside. So, how do you cultivate this silent faith in a noisy world? You begin by choosing it again and again on each morning. You wake not with the question, will it come? But with the conviction, it's already on the way. You walk as if your steps are guided. You speak as if your words shape the air. You breathe as if the entire universe is conspiring for your joy. And when doubt whispers, you don't argue, you don't wrestle, you simply return. Back to stillness, back to the feeling, back to the truth you chose before the world distracted you. And perhaps the most important part, you guard your faith. Not everyone needs to know your dreams. Not every voice deserves access to your vision, because doubt is contagious. And the world is full of well-meaning people who will gladly talk you out of your destiny. So hold your vision like a sacred fire. Share it only with those who can add light to it. And when you can't find anyone who believes with you, believe alone. That's how masters are born. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is your decision to move forward, even when fear is present. It's choosing alignment over panic, stillness over urgency, vision over noise. When you walk in this faith and when you no longer ask when or how, but simply say yes, the universe listens. And in that listening, roads rise to meet your feet. People appear, doors open, synchronicities bloom. Not because you forced anything, but because your inner alignment gave permission for life to respond. So if you're wondering when it will come, stop. The more powerful question is, are you still aligned? Because when you are, the result is already moving toward you. Let this be your mantra. I do not chase. I align. I do not push. I trust. I do not force. I allow. And from that vibration, from that magnetic stillness, all things are drawn to you. In the next chapter, we will explore the final unlocking, the ultimate act of trust, the power of doing nothing and watching everything shift. But for now, let this truth settle into your bones. What you feel, consistently and calmly, must be. Your faith doesn't need to shout, it only needs to remain. Chapter 6. The stillness that creates everything. You were told to move, to strive, to act, that only the busy are worthy, only the tireless succeed, only the relentless survive. And so you ran. You filled your days with effort, your mind with plans, your soul with pressure. You forgot what it meant to pause, to be, to breathe, without trying to become. But here, you will remember. Because the greatest movements in life often begin in stillness. There is a sacred intelligence that flows when you stop forcing, a hidden order that reveals itself when you step aside. You may think stillness is weakness, but it is the origin of all strength. You may think doing nothing is laziness, but it is the gateway to the highest kind of creation. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of alignment. There comes a moment when your conscious mind has done enough. You've visualized, you've felt, you've planted the seed. Now the soil must take over, and your job is no longer to dig or interfere. Your job is to trust not in the clock or the calendar, but in the current. This is the great challenge of the modern world, to remember that movement is not the only language of power. We are surrounded by noise, celebrated for hustle, rewarded for exhaustion. Yet, beneath the noise, beneath the effort, there is a quiet pulse, timeless, ancient, that knows exactly what to do. And it only speaks when we listen. Let go of the idea that you must chase, that you must fix, that you must be everywhere, doing everything to matter. You are not here to wrestle with life. You are here to align with it. And alignment is discovered in stillness. Imagine this. You've planted a delicate seed in a perfect garden. You've chosen the best earth. You've watered with care. Do you now scream at it to grow? Do you tear up the ground to check its progress? No. You trust the mystery. Because deep down, you know that the forces of nature require no management. So too with the subconscious. Once you have impressed your desire into its depths with clarity and feeling your part is done, the inner machinery, invisible, wise, unhurried, begins to move. And your best contribution from that moment is not more doing, but more being. Still, open, quiet. This is not passivity, it is inner mastery, and it is terrifying to the ego. The ego wants to prove its worth through action. It fears that if you're not doing, you are falling behind. But the soul knows differently. The soul is patient. It does not need to be loud. It does not need recognition. It does not panic when nothing seems to change. It simply breathes and allows. In this sacred pause, miracles are born. The most transformative moments of your life did not come when you were busy planning them. They came when you were open, when you were surrendered, when you stopped pushing and started flowing. And that's no coincidence, that's the law. What if the very thing you're trying so hard to manifest is hovering just outside your reach, blocked by your effort? What if the moment you stop trying so desperately, it could finally arrive? Because your desperation shouts a lack, and your stillness whispers trust. You are not lazy for resting. You are not behind because you're not producing. You are not disconnected because you paused. You are preparing the field. There is a rhythm in creation, inhale, exhale, tension, release, action, stillness. Most people only live half of it. They inhale, but never exhale. They try, but never allow. And so they suffocate their own becoming. But when you live both, and when you can visualize with fire and then wait with peace, your inner world becomes fertile ground. Life begins to arrange itself for you. This is why those who seem lucky often just understand the deeper current. They move when it's time to move. They rest when it's time to trust. And in that balance, life becomes graceful. So let yourself stop. Let yourself be still, even for an hour, even for a day. Let the silence speak to you. Let your breath soften. Let your thoughts drift. Let your soul show you what your mind never could. There is a vast difference between inactivity and receptivity. One is fear, the other is faith. This kind of non-action is the highest form of action. It says, "I've done my part, now I allow life to do hers." It opens the space, it clears the channel, it removes the noise, and in that space, something begins to bloom. You start to feel differently, subtly, strongly. There is less urgency, less grasping, less resistance. And then, without warning, the phone call comes. The message appears. The door opens. The idea drops in like lightning. Not because you fought for it, but because you made room, because you became the space. And this is the art of spiritual stillness. So if today you are exhausted, not just in body but in spirit, let go. For one moment, let go. You don't need to push today. You don't need to chase. You don't need to prove. You need to allow. Because when you allow, you shift from force to flow. And what once felt impossible begins to arrive, naturally. Not because you demanded it, but because you trusted it into being. Chapter 7. The Whisper That Rewrites Reality. You've heard it 1,000 times. Repeat it, and it will become true. Say it until you believe it. Affirm it, and it shall manifest. And so you did. You stood before mirrors, whispered before bed, and repeated during your walks. You spoke words of abundance, health, and love, over and over. But sometimes, nothing happened. And in the quiet, you wondered, am I doing this wrong? Why aren't the affirmations working? Why do my words feel empty? The answer is simple and profound. Words alone do not create. Energy does. 1,000 hollow repetitions can never match the power of a single phrase spoken with truth in your bones. You see, the subconscious mind does not speak the language of effort. It speaks the language of feeling. It listens not to what you say, but to how you say it, to the tone behind the syllables, to the vibration of your heart when you speak. A soft whisper from your soul is louder than 100 desperate chants. Imagine this. You're sitting in stillness. You've let go of your thoughts, your worries, and your need to control. There is no one around, just your breath, just your body, just your being. And then, gently, without effort, you speak. I am safe. I am ready. All things come to me with ease. Everything I need is already on its way. And when you say it, you don't try to force belief. You don't wait for goosebumps or signs. You simply feel the truth of the words resonate, like a chime in the air of your soul. That is when the magic begins. Because real affirmations are not meant to convince the world. They're meant to remind you of what's already true. The deeper part of you, the timeless, infinite self, already knows you are whole. You already know you are guided, already knows you are worthy, but you forgot. The noise of the world made you forget. Fear made you forget. The opinions of others drowned your knowing. So you speak these words not to make them true, but to remember. And remembering changes everything. It brings your inner world into harmony. It returns you to the center. It sends a signal not just to your mind, but to the very fabric of reality. This is who I am. This is what I allow. This is what I choose. And reality listens. The most powerful affirmations are not shouted. They speak with presence, with stillness, with love. Because your subconscious is not a machine to be programmed by repetition. It is a living force, tender, deep, impressionable. It responds to gentleness, to intention, to clarify. Think of it like a child. It doesn't need long speeches. It needs safety. It needs calm. It needs simple truths repeated with warmth. I am enough. I am loved. I allow abundance to flow to me. All things work together for my highest good. Say it once, with your whole being, and it echoes through your inner world like a sacred bell. That one sentence, spoken in true alignment, becomes a seed. And you already know what happens with seeds. They grow in silence. They grow in time. They do not grow faster because you scream at them. They grow because the soil is right, and your soil is your emotional state. So when you affirm, don't perform, feel, breathe, let the words drop into the still water of your heart, and then move on. Live as though they are already working. Walk as though they are already creating. Sleep as though they have already taken root. Do not chase evidence. You are the evidence. You are the living result of your inner vibration. You don't need to force reality to catch up to your truth. You just need to stop contradicting it. And that's where most people undo their own progress. They speak peace in the morning and panic by afternoon. They affirm abundance and complain about money. They declare trust and question every delay. But the subconscious listens to all of it. It's not just your affirmations it receives, it's your self-talk, your reactions, your emotions, your conversations. So choose words that match the truth you want to live. Speak of yourself as a whole, even when you're healing. Speak of your life as unfolding, even when the path isn't clear. Speak of what you allow, not of what you fear. Let your language become sacred again. And if you can only say one phrase each day, let it be this: everything is unfolding in perfect timing, and I am exactly where I need to be. Say it with peace. Say it with no rush. Say it with the quiet smile of someone who has stopped fighting their own becoming. Because that's all an affirmation really is, not a request but a reunion, a return to the truth beneath all illusion. In the next chapter, we will explore what happens when you stop watching for the result and start living as if it were already done. Real stories, real lives. Real miracles bear not from striving, but from surrender. But for now, remember this: you do not need to shout to be heard by the universe. You only need to speak the truth, softly, clearly, from within. And trust that every time you do, something begins to change. Chapter 8. The Miracles That Happen When You Let Go. There's a sacred moment in the journey, subtle, quiet, but unmistakable, when you stop trying to make it happen and life begins to respond. Not because you fought harder, but because you finally released the rope. You stopped begging. You stopped clinging. You stopped demanding that the universe hurry. And in that release, a shift occurred. This chapter is not theory. It is not a metaphor. It is the echo of real footsteps. People like you who once wrestled with delay, resistance, and confusion until they did something so simple, so radical, that it changed everything. They let go. Not out of frustration, not in defeat, but with deep, reverent trust. And when they did, life moved. There was a woman once. She dreamed of love, not the desperate kind, not the version sold in movies, but a union of souls. Years passed. She visualized, she affirmed, she worked on herself, and still nothing came, or when it did, it arrived only to leave. Until one night, exhausted by trying, she whispered to the stars, "If love is for me, it will find me, and if not, I am enough as I am." And something shifted. Not outside, inside. Her energy softened, her need dissolved, her joy returned. And just like that, love appeared. Not forced, not hunted, not manifested through sheer will. It arrived as if it had always been waiting for her to stop looking and start living. That is the pattern. Again and again, those who receive most effortlessly are the ones who stop controlling the how and surrender to the knowing that it is. There was a man once tangled in business stress. Deals fell through, clients disappeared, revenue choked. He read the books, he repeated the affirmations, he visualized wealth every morning, but all the while he carried a low hum of fear. What if it doesn't work? That hum overpowered every word he spoke. Until one afternoon he stood in his office, looked up at the ceiling and said, "I give this to something greater. I've done what I can. I surrender the outcome." From that moment he stopped pushing. He started listening. And within a week, not a month, not a year, everything turned. A dormant contact returned. A new offer appeared. Doors opened. But not because he strategized harder, because he aligned. He stopped vibrating in desperation. He began vibrating in peace. And peace is magnetic. You see, the subconscious does not deliver what you want. It delivers who you are being. You can want love, but if you vibrate in loneliness, you'll repel it. You can want money, but if you vibrate in fear, it will stay away. But the moment you return to wholeness, not perfection, not having it all figured out, but the kind of wholeness that says, "I am already enough," you become a clear signal. You don't chase what you desire. You become the space in which it can land. There are countless stories like this. A woman releases the need to conceive after years of trying, and then unexpectedly, life begins within her. A man gives up his search for a job, deciding instead to explore joy. And the perfect position finds him through a forgotten contact. A writer stops forcing inspiration, rests, walks in nature, and the words return like a flood. Why? Because the universe does not respond to effort, it responds to alignment. When you let go of the how and honor the what with sincerity, your desire no longer has to swim against the current of your control. It flows to you. This is the paradox that frightens the mind. If you want something badly, let it go. If it is yours, it will come, not when you need it to, but when you no longer need it at all. Not because you've stopped wanting, but because you've stopped resisting. In that energetic gap, the miracle arrives. So ask yourself, what am I holding on to with too much pressure? What dream am I suffocating with my own expectations? What desire have I mistaken for a burden instead of a blessing waiting to unfold? Dare to loosen your grip. Dare to exhale. Dare to say, "I trust you to find me when the time is right." Because that trust is a frequency, and the subconscious listens. It hears the difference between, "Please, I need this to feel whole," and "I am whole already, and I welcome what belongs to me." One is desperation, the other is power. So look not at whether your desire has arrived yet. Look at the soil in which it's been planted. Is it peace? Is it faith? Is it joy? Or is it fear? Because the harvest cannot come when the roots are trembling. Let this chapter be your mirror, not to make you try harder, but to help you surrender better. Your story, too, can be one of sudden alignment, sudden flow, sudden arrival. And it will not be sudden to your soul. It will feel inevitable. Because deep down, you always knew that when you stopped pushing, it would come. The next chapter will take this even further, into how to live each day from this new reality, not as a hopeful experiment, but as a new identity. Not someone waiting for results, but someone who walks through life as if they are already whole, because they are. Chapter 9. Living from the reality that already exists. There comes a day when everything changes, and not because something outside you shifts, not because the money arrives, or the lover appears, or the answer finally lands in your lap, but because you wake up and realize you no longer need it to feel complete. The desire is still there, the vision is still clear, but the need is gone, the anxiety is gone, the obsession has vanished, and in its place, peace. A soft knowing has taken root in your chest, a quiet confidence that says, "I'm already it, I'm already aligned, I don't have to chase what's already mine." That's when you know you've crossed the threshold, from seeker to creator, from reactor to receiver, from someone trying to manifest to someone who is the manifestation. This change doesn't announce itself with lightning bolts. It's not theatrical, it's not loud. It feels like silence, like calm, like wholeness. And once you feel it, truly feel it, there's no going back. You no longer affirm to fix yourself. You affirm to recognize yourself. You no longer visualize getting something. You visualize maintaining alignment. You no longer meditate to reach peace. You meditate because you are at peace. This is where the work ends and life begins. When you begin to live each day as if your desire is already here, not pretending, not performing, but embodying, you become a walking resonance of your chosen reality. And the world responds, not because you're convinced it, but because you stopped contradicting it. This is the essence of creation: alignment without effort, action without tension, movement without fear. You no longer ask, when will it come? You simply say, thank you, it's already done, and your energy becomes undeniable. People feel it in your presence, in the way you speak, in the way you carry yourself. You're not waiting anymore, you're not proving anything. You've moved out of need into knowing. This is the most magnetic state a human can reach, and it's available to you right now. Not after the goal is met, not once the proof shows up, but in this very moment, if you choose to step into it. How? You decide that your joy is no longer dependent on outcomes. You decide that your worth is no longer up for negotiation. You decide that the version of you who has it is the one you choose to be, right now. Not when the evidence arrives, but before. Because the evidence doesn't create the state creates the evidence. So walk as the one who already has it. Speak as the one who's already living it. Think of the one who's already become it. Not out of delusion, but out of alignment. If something doesn't show up today, you're not shaken. You're not discouraged. You're not undone. You simply say, not this door, not this hour, but still inevitable. Because you trust the current. You trust the law. You trust your inner world more than you trust the outside noise. And that's how you know the process is complete. The flower is blooming, even if your eyes can't see the petals yet. This is not about giving up desire. It's about shifting the energy beneath it. You no longer vibrate from lack, you vibrate from embodiment. And embodiment is the most advanced form of manifestation. Because once you are it, you stop attracting through force. You start radiating. And what matches you can't help but find you. No more proving. No more urgency. No more using spirituality as a tool to get what your ego craves. Now, spirituality is simply your way of living. Presence is your home. Trust is your rhythm. Peace is your foundation. You've stopped reaching outward. You've come in. And from there, everything flows. This isn't a motivational speech. This is the law, the very structure of how life mirrors your frequency. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you believe you already are. So be it now. If you're waiting for the dream job, live with the energy of someone who already does meaningful work. If you're waiting for the relationship, love yourself the way you'd want to be loved. Walk through the world with the glow of someone already chosen. If you're waiting for the money, make decisions with the trust of someone who knows that provision is always arriving right on time. The world adjusts to you, not the other way around. That's what no one told you, that you don't need to convince life to love you. You just need to stop interrupting what's already flowing toward you. This is your invitation. Stop living from memory. Start living from imagination, not as fantasy, but as frequency. Because once you become the vibration of what you want, the physical is already on its way. The final chapter will bring everything together, not as a conclusion but as a new beginning, a return to the most sacred act of all, letting go, trusting completely, and walking forward, guided by the quiet power that has always been within you. Chapter 10. The power of letting go, trusting, and being led. You've made it here, not by accident, not by chance, but because something within you, older than time, deeper than words, brought you. And now, as you stand at this quiet threshold, you can feel it. You're no longer who you were. Something inside you has shifted, something invisible, but undeniable. And no, it wasn't the words that changed you. It wasn't the information. It was the remembrance, the soft return to the truth that was always yours. That you don't need to force life. You don't need to beg for what's already meant for you. You don't need to hold the reins so tightly that you miss the wind wanting to carry you. You're not here to control everything, you're here to allow the power within you, that quiet, sacred force, to move without resistance. You've already seen it. You've felt the shift when you surrendered. You've tasted the freedom that comes when you stop living from fear and begin walking in trust. Let go. Not as a defeat, but as liberation. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the how. Let go of the story that says, I must make it happen. Because you're not alone, you never were. There is a divine intelligence that beats your heart, fills your breath, and heals your wounds in the night. It organizes stars, seasons, and cells, and it lives in you. It is you. Call it your subconscious. Call it your soul. Call it God. Call it what you will. Names don't matter here. What matters is that you begin to live in partnership with it. You've carried so much, tried so hard, pushed for so long, and now you're allowed to rest, to trust, to follow instead of force, to be guided instead of anxious, to release what was never yours to control. This is not passivity. This is participation with the sacred. Because when you let go of the illusion of control, you don't fall into chaos. You fall into grace. You're not dropping into nothingness. You're returning to everything, and you begin to live, truly live, in alignment. You take inspired action, not frantic reaction. You move with intuition, not fear. You listen, and the path appears. You allow yourself to be led, not because you're weak, but because you finally understand what power really is. It's not in force, it's in surrender. It's in person. It's in faith that doesn't need guarantees. And the more you walk this way, the more life opens, the more effortlessly things arrive, the more beautiful surprises you. Because you're no longer trying to bend life to your will. You're dancing with it, flowing with it, becoming one with it. And in that state, you don't just manifest, you magnetize. You don't just visualize, you embody. You don't just speak affirmations. You become a living, breathing affirmation. Not because of what you say, but because of how you are. Your silence becomes a signal. Your energy becomes the prayer. And life responds. So as this chapter closes, feel this truth wrap around you like a warm wind. You are enough. You are guided. You are supported. You are already what you seek. You've always been. The rest was forgetting. And now you remember. From here, life won't be perfect. But it will be different. Because now you walk with an inner anchor. You're not ruled by appearances. You're not reactive to fear. You trust your path even when the road curves, and when doubt arises, as it will, you'll return to this place, this inner altar, this sacred stillness. You'll remember what it means to let go, to trust, to be led. You no longer chase, you no longer plead, you no longer prove. You allow, you align, you receive, not because you learned a trick, but because you remembered the truth. You are the miracle, and everything that is meant for you is already finding its way. Now, walk forward, not with haste, but with holiness, with your head held high, not because you have answers, but because you've surrendered the need for them. Your life is not a problem to solve, it is a wave to ride, a current to follow, a divine unfolding to witness with grace. So let go, trust, and let yourself be led, not someday, now. Closing words, the return to your inner power. You have walked a path few are willing to take, the inward path, where there are no crowds, no noise, no medals, only silence, stillness, and truth. And now you know. You were never broken. You were never behind. You were never without power. You were simply disconnected from the infinite that lives within you. And now you've returned, not to someone new, but to the one you always were, beneath the fear, beneath the noise, beneath the stories. This journey was not about becoming. It was about uncovering, peeling back the layers that told you needed to hustle, to beg, to prove, stripping away the illusion that you must struggle to be worthy, and remembering what is eternal, what is unshakable, what cannot be taken from you, your inner authority. Now you understand, you are not here to chase your dreams like a beggar. You are here to remember them, to remember they were placed inside you for a reason, not as distant wishes, but as clues of what you already are. You do not have to force anything, not the love, not the success, not the healing, not the transformation. All of it becomes inevitable when you live in alignment. That is your new way now. That is your truth. And truth does not require struggle to be real. It only asks to be felt and lived. So let this book become a mirror, not a manual, a sacred reminder, not a set of rules, a soft voice that walks beside you, not ahead of you. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are the field. You are the seed. You are the sun. And the time for harvest has already begun. There is no final step. There is only the next breath, the next choice, the next moment of remembering. So return to these pages whenever the world gets loud, when your mind forgets, when your faith shakes. And each time, it will say the same thing, softly, steadily, like the whisper of your soul. You are already it. You are already whole. You are already home. Now go, live it, breathe it, be it, and let life meet you, where you finally let it in.